Hi there, welcome back to Only the Best Fantasy Novels, and today I'm going to talk about one of the most hyped books on Booktube, and that is The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, I went into this book a little bit biased because usually, whenever influencers rave about a book, I I typically find myself disappointed, only for the reason that there's a kind of culture in the community of hyping up books and then just kind of hyping up books just to keep things going, especially around like their release dates and so. And then when you read them, they're books that 5 years from now people barely remember, um, if anyone at all remembers. They're not books that withstand the test of a few years in terms of genre memory. But yeah, this was a book like it was on my TBR for a while. Then I joined BookTube, and everyone it felt like everyone and their grandmother was telling me to read this. So I took Granny's advice and I went headlong into it. And I can safely say that where all that fire is, there is some smoke. Um, yeah, so it surprisingly it was a pretty engaging opening to what's promising to be a very interesting trilogy. Um, what One of the things I found interesting about it is that this is actually epic fantasy, like classic epic fantasy. Think like epic fantasy from like the 1990s, along those veins. Like something directly inspired by Tolkien, but very much its own. Um, we get like the standard format. A budding mage gets a call to arms, and things just happen from there. And in this case, our budding mage is Davian, a mage who actually can't use magic. He's studying furiously because he's about to face a pretty significant exam, which literally determines your fate in this world. You either pass or you get your magic locked, and once your magic gets locked, you're like even you can aspire to become this scum of society at that point. You're so far down on the totem pole. Um, but yeah, he gets things get escalate pretty quickly for him when he becomes embroiled in a mystery that spans millennia, and he's forced to leave his school on a journey. And then things happen, as they always do in epic fantasy, especially of this nature. Um, but yeah, I like once again I was surprised by how like good this was, given like the just the story layout, the content, that kind of thing. The elements that make the story. Like at this point, I've read a lot of epic fantasy that's inspired by Tolkien that tries to become its own, and the key difference is always that always makes or breaks these kind of stories is it has to be a skilled author who can take these things and make them his own or her own. Um, they can present old concepts because you will be tired of a lot of these concepts, and they can take them and present them to you in a new and engaging way that just keeps you going. And James Islington definitely has that skill, and that's kind of what carries the book. Honestly, that's the major selling point of the book initially. And then it kind of escalates from there, because as this world unfolds you realize that he makes some pretty, for me at least, he makes some pretty bold choices in what he chooses to include, in terms of like there are some powers that just you never see written into books because authors have a difficult time handling them in a way that doesn't break their story. We're talking about things like time travel, things like the ability to detect lies from truth when someone speaks. Of course, these things have been used in have been included in stories numerable times, but the difference between an okay story that includes them and a really good story that includes them is how the author handles the limitations of these skills. Because like I said, they can they can punch pretty big holes into your story. For example, if a story has time to travel, what's to prevent someone from using it to go in back and just preventing everything from happening in the first place? And it's a thin line to tread, especially for me, especially in epic fantasy where anything goes, anything can happen. And James Islington handles it brilliantly. He just the different things that happen, how they happen, and it's it's ambitious and it's promising, and I'm excited to see how things unfold in the next two books, because I'm told that these books just get better and better. And if the first one managed to like really hook me and I enjoyed it so much, I have high expectations for the next two going into it. But yeah, as the story unfolds, like we see, it's actually surprising how complex it rapidly becomes, how nuanced. We have a cast of characters. I'm not even gonna discuss the cast of characters, because they're so like stereotypical. It's like I said, it takes a really skilled author to take what are just hardcore tropes of epic fantasy and make something fun with them. And James Islington did it brilliantly. So nothing. I'm not going to discuss anything about the characters, but there is like a lot going on in this story that is just handled really well. In terms of like the schemes and the plots and the subplots and just the overall arcs. This is. It's a bit like Stephen Erickson's Malazan Book of the Fawn, in that as much as this is an entry point into the conflict, you very much get the sense that you're diving headlong into something that's been unfolding for millennia, and your introduction is a disruption. Is coming at a time where no one's gonna sit down and explain to you what's going on to tell you this is the status quo, this is how things were, this is where they're going. Things are just doled out to you bit by bit. There's a lot of mystery to it, and it just works. It works brilliantly. But yeah, I don't think I'm gonna talk about this book anymore, because according to my camera, I'm already at 8 minutes and 30 seconds. No, and I know from my retention rate, almost no one makes it this far into my videos. And there's tons of videos on YouTube already discussing these books. So yeah, a banger of an opening. I'm actually shocked I enjoyed this as much as I did, because like I said, I have a bias away where I see influencers just hyping books to high heaven. And I'm very happy to be disappointed that this book didn't live up to my expectations of sucking, given all the hype. I actually really enjoyed it, and it made me miss epic fantasy. I kind of wish that more epic fantasy was being written, but the genre has shifted. The demands of the audience has shifted, so it is what it is. But yeah, definitely, I can see why it's hyped, especially for readers who haven't been as exposed to as much fantasy as I have. I can see why it's loved so much, and I'll definitely be continuing on. If by some miracle you made it this far into the video, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.